Well, here we are, back in the car. Today is day, let's call it 6. Um, it is Friday, the Friday after Labor Day, whatever day that is. Ken, put a date up there somewhere. Anyway, I didn't sleep hardly at all last night. And I didn't finish the pizza. I know, sacrilege. I was half tempted to bring the other half with me, but the idea of having it in my car next to me as I drove, like baby on board, I'm just too old for it. It's just, 10 years ago, fine. 20 years ago, of course. 30 years ago, you got to be kidding. No way. Of course it would be in the car. Now, I'm just too grown up. Damn it! See, even the train's upset about that. Anyway, today is going to be a tough day. For the train, too. It's going to be the longest driving day. And yesterday was about 450 miles. I think today's going to be longer than that. We're going to go through a couple graveyards of a type. And end up at my brother's house. My youngest brother, Richard's house. And my history with family is complicated at best. You can look at false starts or the day we said goodbye. These are books available from Amazon, iTunes, etc., 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 in ebook, paperback, and audiobook. To get a better idea of what I'm talking about. But the short and sweet answer is my family doesn't really do family. So, with that said, let's get on the road and go see some family. The great thing about getting gas in Oregon is having your gas pumped for you. The bad thing is that I don't want to get out of my car, so I don't get a drink. So I am drinkless. Beverage denied. Liquid light. Oh well. I'll continue my quest for a Starbucks. You'd think it'd be easy to find a Starbucks. And in truth, I have passed a couple, but they've all been off of the freeway on the other side. I want one that's off the side of the road that I can see and just pull up into, because I'm very lazy. Anyway, one of the things that I haven't mentioned about Oregon is the fires that are going on. Or are the fires that are going on. Anyway, I haven't mentioned the fires, and there are a lot of them all over the place. Fortunately, though, I'm in the middle of Oregon where there aren't quite so many. So here, it just becomes apparent from a bit of a haze in the air and the stench of a really big fireplace. But not the kind you want on a daily basis.
Hey now, little speedy head, the read on the speedometer says you have to go to task in the city, where people drown and people serve. Don't be shy, you just deserve. It's only just light years to go. Me, my thoughts of flowers strewn, ocean storm, Bayberry moon. I have got to leave to find my way. Watch the road and memorize the slide that passed before my eyes. Nothing is going my way. The ocean is a river's goal. We need to leave, the water knows we're closer now than light years to go. To find the river, Bergamot, Bedford, run through my head and fall away. Leave the road and memorize the slide that passed before my eyes. Nothing is going my way. There's no one left to take the lead, but I tell you and you can see we're closer now than light years to go. Pick up here and chase the ride, the river empties to the tide, fall into the ocean. The river to the ocean goes, fortune for the undertow. None of this is going my way. There is nothing left to throw. Ginger, lemon, indigo, coriander, stem, and rose of hay. Strength and courage overrides privileged and weary eyes. River poets search naivete. Pick up here and chase a ride. River just to the tide. All of this is coming your way.
So one of the first places my dad took me when I came up to Washington was the Snoqualmie Falls, which is where we're at. Well, we're in the parking area. It's about 14,000 miles away. But I thought it'd be a good place to visit, and I could bring my dad and see if it's a suitable place to let him rest. The first time I saw the Snoqualmie Falls, it was practically overflowing its banks, filling the river below, which is why I thought my dad's little urn would fit so well. That was back in 1988. I hadn't seen my father in about 7 years, and I had gone to Washington to get married. I felt like an outsider down in California, and Washington was no better. When I said that we don't do family, I wasn't kidding. The last time my entire family, well, almost my entire family, had gathered in one place had been at my father's funeral in 2008. Now in 2017, despite record rainfall and thanks to a growing populace of thirsty Washingtonians, the Snoqualmie River wasn't full enough to hide my father's urn. But I was glad I took him there to share it one last time with, well, at least a part of him. the depth of the falls and of the river beneath wasn't quite as deep as I was hoping. I have this bad feeling that if I put my dad in there, he might just get found by somebody. I don't know if I've mentioned, Vicky and I tried to figure out every way possible to open that little urn, including nail polish remover, a screwdriver, and, unbeknownst to her, even a hammer. And it didn't work. So, when I find a place to let my dad go, it's gonna be everything. Now, I have one other place where I think might be appropriate, and that's a park in Kirkland that he and I went to. I had a picture for many years before I lost it of the two of us there, and he was alive and I was young. But I said I would be going to 2 graveyards of a sort, and behind me is the second one. How to explain this? My friend Sean is a widower, and the nice thing about being a widower, he said, changing hands on the camera, the nice thing about being a widower, if there's such a thing as a nice thing about being a widower, is that he can go and visit his wife's grave where her ashes are interred, whenever he would like. But when you get a divorce, you don't have a grave because it's not legal to kill your spouse. I'm just kidding. But behind me is where my first wife and I were married back in 1998. No, back in 1988. Yes, even longer ago. I was too young. She was too young. And I think there's a good chance that neither of us really knew what we were in for or were ready to give all that was required. Now, oddly enough, in my second marriage, my present marriage, I don't have any... I don't think for a minute that Vicky and I would ever split up. That's how confident I am. I can't imagine that ever happening. But unfortunately, in my first marriage, that was happening all the time. So, what do? You don't have a grave you can go to. So what I do is, whenever I'm up in this area, I like to swing by and just pay my respects to what once was. I don't like thinking of it as a failed marriage. I like thinking of it as a 15-year marriage. That was all the time it had, and it ran out. So, there it is. Our church. Very strange being married in a church, and even then, when I wasn't a total atheist, even then it seemed a little weird. Vicky and I were married in a very nice place that you can read all about in The Day We Said Goodbye. But I think this will be my last time paying my respects at this church. Next year, we would have been married, dare I say 30 years? So it was about 29 years ago that we were wed. And I have nothing but good hopes and wishes for her. I hope she is happy and has everything that she could ever desire. But I think this is it for me. Not to mention, I'm not here that often anyway. This is Falls City, Washington. That's the Falls City Methodist Church. Wait a second. The Falls City United Methodist Church. I'm going to switch hands again. So I'm not going to be here too often ever in my life. The next time I come up here, I'll probably fly and have an Uber or a Lyft drive me wherever I want to go, and I don't think it's going to be here. But it's good to see. To take a moment just to reflect. My stop in Falls City doesn't end there, because now I'm at the Falls City Inn. No, now I'm at the Roadhouse Inn in Falls City, which Vicky and I found out about a few years ago and discovered it's absolutely amazing. So if you're ever in Falls City, this is the place to stop. After Falls City, I spent an entire weekend with my brother Richard and his family. As I drove away Monday morning, I stopped at the park my father and I had visited so many years ago, the Marina Park and Pavilion on the shores of Lake Washington in Kirkland. And there, I said my final goodbyes, and there, in the lake, he rests today. So, here I am again at another in a long line of shitty motel rooms. I didn't film today because, quite frankly, I didn't really feel like filming. It was an emotional day. It started with me leaving my dad's ashes, or letting my dad's ashes go, in Lake Washington, at the park that he and I had gone to. So I drive away from Lake Washington, and I get just about to the freeway. And I don't know if it was a familiar song that was playing or if the emotions just caught up with me. But I started thinking about my dad and my stepmom Blanche and the wonderful gift. There's a huge light back here. Good. We got rid of that light. So I don't know if it was a song that was playing or just the emotions that caught up with me. But I'm getting on the freeway and I start thinking about my dad and my stepmom Blanche and the terrific gift that they gave me with my half-brother Richard. Spending a few days with Richard was just great. I don't know what your relationship is with your family, but, well, as I had previously said, my family doesn't really do family. So going to Richard's, I thought, this is going to be another miserable time with my family. I've never really bonded with too many members of my family. Okay, any of them. My sister is estranged. My older brother isn't returning my calls. My other half-brother has kind of disappeared into his own life. So family, not really so much, especially after my dad's funeral. We all just went in every direction. So spending time with my brother and actually having a great time. We had a terrific couple days. We did nothing. We did absolutely nothing. It was fantastic. We hung around, we watched TV, we played video games, we ate slop. Okay, actually a couple of the things were actually healthy. It was wonderful. It was, I can't say enough, and so I won't, because you're already getting boring. You're already getting bored, excuse me. So I'm getting on the freeway, and I'm thinking about this terrific visit with Richard and his wife Terry and my nephew Hayden. Great kid. And now before I tell you this, you should know that as an artist, as I get older, I get more and more in touch with my feelings. So I'm getting on the freeway and the waterworks begin. Just start flowing down my face. I'm driving along. It's not that kind of crying where you're, but it's that kind of crying where you're just driving along and tears are just going. And there's nothing you can do about it. And I'm driving through these incredibly familiar surroundings, because I've been up to Seattle many times. And I'm driving just north of Tacoma. And I'm thinking about the times that I've driven there with Vicky. The one time. Maybe more, I don't know. She'll correct me, of course. But I start thinking about the time when it was snowing. We were driving through and it's snowing. She's driving through and I'm making every joke possible about how it's snowing. You know, the possible end result. Every death scenario, basically. And then I think about my first wife and the times we've been through there. And I start thinking about every friend that I've had, every relationship I've been in, every tawdry lover that I've run across and bumped into. People I just barely knew for a short time. And the career that I've been able to establish for myself with my wife's help. And I start thinking about how incredibly fortunate I am. And this is important because I spent most of my life with basically nothing but regrets. I just had regrets just hanging off of me. Guilt, regrets, pain. That was a good 40-something years. And it took me some time to get here. So I want to tell you, whoever you are watching this video, watching me in this crappy old motel room, I want to implore, I want to recommend, I want to challenge you to however it takes, whatever you need to do, find a way to let go of those regrets. Find a way to move beyond that guilt. I used to be defined by guilt. People knew me as the neurotic guy. No, it wouldn't make a good title for a movie. That's how the world saw me. And now here I've spent this incredible weekend with my brother. And it was great. It was just great. I've let go of my father's ashes. I've reestablished this relationship with my brother. And I've driven south into Bend, Oregon. Now let me tell you something about Oregon. And I don't mean this in a negative way. I want anyone who lives in Oregon, who is from Oregon, who just likes the sound of the word Oregon, I want you to know this isn't meant personally. I love the state of Oregon. I think it's gorgeous. I think the west side is beautiful. The east side is stunning. It's a beautiful state. Having said that, the people in Oregon, the Oregonians, what is it with you people? You all look like you've been kicked out of another state. I'm not saying you're ugly, repulsive, repellent, pick your word, but you all look like you've just come in from another state and haven't had a chance to anything. Thanks, Oregon. Anyway, I'm going to kick back in this room. I bought a healthy dinner from Taco Bell. What? I'm on the road.
And there you have it. You've just survived another Ken LaSalle YouTube video. But it doesn't end there. Later this autumn, I'll release my third autobiographical monologue, which I'm calling Not Where I Thought I Would Be. Think of it as everything I didn't catch on camera, with a few things I did. You can pick it up from Audible, iTunes, Amazon, and for the particularly daring, head on down to kenlasalle.com for a glimpse at the rest of my work. And as always, thank you for your support. I need it.